awaiting your direction on that. And if you so agree, what I'll do is call Burma Kroger, and she'll give us a list of dates, and then I'll send those dates out to you guys. And, I mean, it's not worth doing if we can't get all of you there. I think we need to all do it and all be there. So that'll be the hard part, is finding another date where all of us can do this together.
Don Fritz do that?
Don Fritz would do it too. He would do an excellent job too.
Anybody else?
I have no problem with doing that. I think we have another day to set our own goals separately. Just like how
You guys are bored.
as we warn.
Okay, so let's move forward on.
Let's pound out the work session first, and then
we'll
go with the goal setting.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Part of the work session, it really is.
Yep.
Okay. Next one is D, on discussion items, new policies. You want to take that one?
Yeah, when we talked about do we need a speaker's policy or not, so I guess that's where the discussion needs to go now. I'll give you my reflections on it, but I'd like to hear from everyone else first. So,
What we'd like to look at, folks, is a possible, or look at our speaker's policy of developing one, because that's our role as a board, is to develop policies. So kind of open that up to the board here.
I think I sent you probably a copy of 4 policies that touch upon the subject, but don't necessarily define anything other than the right of the administration maybe to select. I think that's pretty much evident in one or two of the policies. We really don't bring in a lot of speakers. In fact, I'd say it's pretty rare. Probably the Veterans Day is the only time that we combine buildings and have a speaker. Mr. Rose will on occasion have a speaker, and Mr. Klein might on occasion have a speaker. I have Mr. Ruggie, I'm pretty doubtful that he has one very often for his building. So it's not a situation that occurs a lot, but it does occur. So
We had a discussion as veterans. Frank Schaffer and I talked to Mr. Norvell last week. And from our standpoint, we would like to see a policy developed, however we do it, so that we don't get into that situation again, because it was unclear. We feel that it would be a benefit to the administration because then they've got something to fall back on. You know, if we're going to require somebody to look at a speech first, then let's require it of everyone. Let's be consistent about it. So that's what we have talked about as far as policy. That's what we would like to see.
I think the content of the 4 policies that we have currently are sufficient to what our needs are at the school right now. I don't know that writing a constricted policy that in the end the administrator is going to have to make a decision on is in the best interest of our schools.
Except for the situation that happened, was the administration had no guidelines. They made that decision, said there was a speaker's policy and there wasn't. You know, if we're going to review a speech and say that's why we're not going to allow it, let's be consistent. You know, these 4 policies do not at all address what happened in November.
Is that something we would want to put on our work session too?
I want to give you my final thoughts on this Veterans Day thing that's been kind of blown out of proportion, I think. But I mean, I keep hoping that it goes away, but it comes back month after month. But here's the way I look at Veterans Day. It's a shared event. The school district, we allow our facility to be used. We interrupt class time. We bus middle school students down here, so we hire drivers and pay for buses. We provide rolls and coffee. I think Mr. Rose started that 3 years ago. I I look at it as a shared event between the Legion or the veteran and us. And I think we're committed to it. And what we want out of it is for our kids to learn about the sacrifice that our veterans have made. And I think we should look at it as a shared event. So, you know, if we cannot agree on a speaker, if we cannot agree to who gives the message, then that's really where the problem was this time. We didn't agree. And I think the Legion has to give us every consideration for who we want as a speaker, as do we do them. And I think in this particular situation, it was just bad communication between Eric and us, or whoever's doing it for them. It just was a late notice. And we did tell Eric the day before we didn't really want this speaker, but we had a backup plan if the Legion insisted that they had to have him. But Eric took care of canceling it, and Eric gave the speech. We had the veterans program. We had a speech. I think it went well. Our kids were there. I think everybody was happy. So, you know, what was the end result is some people got a few hard feelings over this because they didn't get to hear the speaker they wanted to hear. Well, if it's a shared event, don't we have some say in who that's going to be? And when we made our decision, we did it based upon the fact that we had told this speaker no back in August. We had said no, we weren't going to do it. So when push came to shove, we defended our kids. We had a backup plan to do in case the Legion insisted upon having the speaker. We were just going to let our juniors and seniors go and not bring anyone else in. But, you know, it's unfortunate that it happened. I think it can be cured with just a little better communication between the Legion and us. And, you know, the Legion makes the agenda. We provide the facility. Maybe we just need to talk a little bit more and a little better. We've provided music, I think, in the past. We do a lot of things, too. And I think in this last 4 or 5 months of some anger, I think the Legion a little bit forgets what the school provides. And I'm not.
But on the other hand, I'm still disappointed on the lack of communication. And I think we were at fault for not communicating sufficiently, and I think we probably alluded to that a little bit. So I guess if Mr. Morrell doesn't want to apologize, that's his thing. But I think as a board, could we apologize for the lack of communication that we didn't show? Would everybody be satisfied with that?
I don't think we did good, right? I don't think we did that.
You don't need to apologize to the vets. It has severed the ties between the VA
Sherry,
and
you
the
know,
vets.
Mr. Freeman knew he was,
He
denied the audit.
communicated that to us.
well, he should have, he knew it.
The VA board were the ones that set it up. The speaker's policy sent him out here to talk to us. That's all we knew.
I think we did apologize to Eric, didn't we, Jim, that day on the phone? I mean,
It's been a while. I mean, I thought Eric and I handled it. I mean, I thought it was communicated between us. The next day we spoke.
but we apologized to him for the late notice. I remember that. You know, when we talked to him, we said, "Hey, this is late." And it was poor communication on our part. But again, it's not like we didn't do our part. They still had a veterans program. We had a separate plan put in place in case they were adamant about
And
having
Eric did a nice job.
And Eric did a great job. He's always
And he's done
worked
that in
with
the
us.
past.
Right.
Except he was supposed to speak at Creed that day. He was scheduled to speak at the Creed program and not here.
Again, we're gonna leave this one in a kind of quandary again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Board president, give with our superintendent, if you can draft some kind of a policy that we can vote on, name or name. There's no more motion for it, if there's no, I'll vote yes for it, and let's move on.
And I agree, we need to do something just so we can put it to bed. And I appreciate Mr. Norvell's candidness with it too, so that we can. And Sherry, thank you. Dave, folks that spoke up. I really do appreciate that. Okay, well, I will meet with Mr. Novell, and we'll go from there. Discussion item, E, is next board meeting, Monday, April 11th, 2011, at the high school. We do have conflict there, and would like to talk to the board about that. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 parents that we have a Wilbur track in junior high. 5.
3 o'clock that day.
At 3 o'clock that day, 5 of us that have junior high kids. My fault too, yes.
We were thinking about, we want to see how many could make it if we came on Wednesday, April 13th at 5 o'clock. That way we would be done by hopefully 6:30, and that's a church night and Lenten service and et cetera. Would that be a problem for too many of you?
I do have conflict that day, if I'm the only one.
5:15? 5:15? Dennis, would that work for you, do you think? You don't know? How about I'll email all of you tomorrow on that date and time, and then when you get a chance to email me back, and then we can count and see how many can make it that day. Is that fine?
What's the alternative, that following Monday, or?
The alternative would probably be the following Monday, April 18th. That's the latest we can have one. We can't have one later than that. I might not involve as many as this done for me. Here, that one that's here.
Yeah, that's, we talked about that too.
We could come home.
My son would be thrilled if I didn't show up. Say, let's just have it on that level.
Can we move it to a half hour later starting time?
Could do that too. We could probably do 8 o'clock start if you okay. You want to try that?
Yeah.
8 o'clock start on that day? Does that
Start
work
at 8
better?
o'clock? Yeah.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Let's do 8 o'clock start on the 11th then. Let's hope Jody and I get it advertised.
The 11th at
Still on the 11th at 8 o'clock.
Okay. Last one is adjournment. That the regular meeting of March 14th, 2011 be adjourned at 8:33 p.m. That the regular meeting of March 14th, 2011 be adjourned at 8:33 p.m. Roll call.
None.
I was working. I need you tomorrow. When do you want to work? I don't know.